All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris, uh, digital coordinator of communities for OpenLMS. I'm waiting here for Ladek to join. He's in the marvelous traffic of Mexico City. But in the meantime, I want to say hi. I want to see how you're doing. How's everything? As you can see, I'm here in Bogota. Things are quite chilly and probably very hectic uh, downstairs. So, if this is the first time you join us, I just want to do a bit of a recap. This is like the episode 4 of our online course building series, live series. So, what we want to do here is to just build a course in front of everyone. It's been 4 sessions now. We have made some progress. Whether it's a lot of progress or a little progress, I too soon to tell. But we want to keep it all like on the record. We try to discuss things that we're going to do, and we do it right on our 30-40 minute sessions. And what I was trying to do while we wait for Ladek is just to do a recap of the things that we have already settled on for this course thus far. So, what are we going to do? We're going to build an online course. We did ask for some feedback from the community, from our company, which is OpenLMS. We just put a little bit of a branding here. All right. Yeah. So, because of our feedback, we decided to talk about the World Cup. And we settled on a course that's called How to Win the World Cup. What does it mean to win? Well, it could be the most obvious reason, just to be the team that lifts the World Cup at the end of the event, which is happening in November. But it could mean any other things. Many teams play just to get a better standing that they did last time or ever in history. Others have more like financial reasons or more personal reasons. And we want to give people ideas or some insight as to what winning could that be and how to make it happen. Speaking of the methodology, I guess that's something that we still iron out, but we have some clarities, which is what I was doing just right here. So we know that we're going to have kind of a webinar discussion, a seminar discussion, kind of a graduate program and so on, where we discuss some of the different elements that make a team the winners. Something very important that we discussed last time, which you should not forget, is the role of luck. Which I guess it's a very interesting conversation. Okay, here you are.
Woo! So not only is traffic horrible, but then when I get to my apartment, they're fixing my elevator. So I've actually been at my, in my vicinity of my desk for like 15 minutes, but getting up to my desk was an unanticipated challenge. So there you go.
But I wonder, like, whoever people are outside building a course, joining a meeting, how many delays are there because of traffic, because of these unexpected events? So,
Sure. But that's also, but in this perfectly remote world, what I should have done was I just should have turned on my phone, sat in my car, done this from somewhere else. Because that's what we can do, right? That's what we can do.
exactly. Yeah.
So where are we at? What were we talking about?
I'm just trying to recap. And I was actually looking into the 5 teams. And it's fun because the last 5 winners, as we discussed last time, are they're all different. And they're all like big players kind of in So it's a good thing. But I looked it up and then I forgot. But now I'm looking it up again. Who won the World Cup?
So who won? Who were the last five?
The last one, I think it was France.
Uh-huh.
Then we have Germany, Brazil, Italy. I guess the only one who has like a big history but hasn't won in the last 5 years is Argentina.
Mm-hmm. You mean in
Uh,
the last 5 cups?
exactly. Yeah.
It's like the last 20 years.
The last 20 years, the last 5 winners.
Right.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Really,
So the
Argentina
last,
has not shown up. That's interesting.
yeah, they haven't won since '86 actually.
And the UK wasn't mentioned in there, right?
UK hasn't really had any like big showing since a long time, and they only won in 1966.
So I got to, I've got to pause this here for a little side note that yesterday, as a remote worker, as a digital nomad, I sometimes use an office space that shall not be named. That a very famous type of office space, one of the biggest ones out there, but they have lots of places here in Mexico.
Yeah.
And the big grand room, like one of the big open rooms where there's some standing desks that I like to use and whatnot. And I started using it, and yesterday I was just like, suddenly, like the room, you could feel like the energy in the room just changed suddenly, right? Like it was like so intense that like I was like sitting there like typing something, and I kind of looked up. I was like, what just happened? But like the room had filled up, like just like instant. And what had happened is that they had dropped like the screen that they use for presentations, kind of across the room from me, and they threw on the Real Madrid Manchester United game, like just like in the middle of the day. I've never seen that happen, like year and a half, never seen that happen before. But like instantly, the room was packed. And Manchester scored like 2 goals in the first 3 minutes, and it was like nobody was happy. It was just very interesting. It was very it's like it just shows you like the power of this thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was intense. It was really intense.
I mean, I'm speaking of, and it's funny that because other things that we have established is that I know a lot about soccer, even though I don't consider myself a fan. And I think we should try to see what kind of lessons we can provide for those who aren't necessarily fans. I think there's a lot from it, like, and actually, I think like you go to LinkedIn Learning or whatever and see like lessons, like business lessons from soccer, and you're going to find a lot of stuff. So I think it would be worth considering something like this.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, you will learn about history, about someone, but it's kind of a business case or a leadership. I don't really know, a case, some kind of case that could be
Very
applicable.
Cool. So at this stage, we have 5 case studies to do.
Yeah.
And are we going to use these? Are we going to use these 5? These, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are these our 5 lenses?
I guess so. Yeah. So right. I don't know if I'm missing anything that we've discussed previously or that's worth adding.
No, I think that sounds about right. I think it's already. I mean, this is a pretty substantial amount of information we can throw in there. What if but like if we were instructors right now, or we were building this as a master class, what's the next thing that we want to think about? Like, we don't want to dive into content. Like, what's the next thing we want to think about?
Well, here are some things that I've started to mention, like what are we going to feature. Things that I think like are pretty basic and everyone will just wonder. Like, but I remember something that we discussed last time, which is how conventional is this course going to be? Yeah. So are we going to follow like a standard formula or structure? Are we going to borrow some parts of some places? I mean, we did discuss that it's going to be like a seminar,
Mm-hmm.
although I guess seminar is kind of the most flexible format out there, or one of pretty flexible in the things that we can discuss, the the homeworks or the the assignments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but I'm very curious to know what kind of assignments are we going to come up with
Yeah,
for
for
this
sure.
course.
Mm-hmm.
I and actually I was we had this session for clients last week, uh, and these are becoming really engaging things, are very interesting, especially not because of what we explain the clients of what they can do with the systems, but what the clients tell us that they have done before. So there
Mm-hmm.
was this woman who did like a leadership course, and she mixed up like an H5P activity, which lets you do like branching scenarios. So if you take this activity, you can like choose your own path, and on each edge there was like a short video by one of the leaders of the company, explaining like, oh, you decided to go this way, well, here's what's going to happen. So it was really fascinating. I mean, and it's just like, wow. And that got like a lot of engagement.
Hmm.
So uh, you can you can use a lot of the tools that we offer, and of course a lot of what the internet can offer, e-learning or any kind of app. And I really want us to touch maybe today or sometime in the future on the no code element of this course,
Sure.
because I think that
Mm-hmm.
because we want a technology that just works and doesn't require people to program or to set up a lot of stuff. So I think that could be a good idea. Um, so it's I don't know. It's interesting to see how people use things into ways that you don't anticipate, but it's still technology and it's still e-learning.
Right, but I guess okay. So I'm trying to just get to the practicality in my head
Hmm.
of what we will do with this or how we do this. I'm just thinking this is like, it's a great moment, or there's some great opportunities for us to pull some of our colleagues into this, like Amy Tessitore or Herman or other people. Yeah, and obviously other people in the community to say, like, how would you do this, right? Like, what would you do, or what have you done in your courses? Um, but what other baseline stuff do we need to have figured out before we go to those people and say, hey, this is our, this is what we have. What would you suggest?
I mean, do you what are you asking, if we need to have something else before we start bringing people in, or is
Yeah,
it the
exactly.
time?
I'm just wondering, do we have enough here to be able to go to somebody like Amy and say, look, we want to do something interesting and innovative here. But at the same time, I think this is also a interesting point that was made by a woman who's coming up on the podcast whose name is escaping me right now. I'm going to look her up.
Coming up, we did have a comment, like on a YouTube comment, that
Connie Mallard, that's her name. Malamed. Connie Malamed. She's actually going to be the podcast that we publish next week, because she just makes this great statement in the podcast about how teachers and instructional designers don't have to be graphic designers, right? Like those are two very different disciplines. And it's just that for some reason that particular conversation had triggered for me. Here it's like, do we have to be innovative for innovation's sake, right? Like, what are we, for us? I mean, ultimately, we're here to show off what e-learning can do. So maybe innovation for innovation's sake is the right answer. But for somebody who is seeking to instruct someone, that may not be the right answer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if that term, I think it's loaded, but with with a good reason. Uh, Innovation for innovation's sake, or maybe a similar term that I think of is over engineering.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to like complicate ourselves or force some tool that isn't really doing its job. I'm kind of looking forward to that moment where we maybe start building something using something, and then we realize, oh, we should probably start over with something different, because that's kind of the bread and butter of the e-learning and the IT space in general. Um, so we should be mindful of keeping things simple, I would say. Um, Another thing that, or one thing that could help us sort of do this simplicity check is sort of the user stories of the people who are going to take this course, right? Who is it going to be? What are they looking to get out of this? And how do we help them get it out as efficiently, as fast as possible?
Again, then I push back: is efficiency what you want, or is it?
I mean, efficiency in terms of the learning experience, definitely. I mean, something that I want to do next time is to like drag some clips from previous interviews, so we can sort of say, oh, how does this is going to affect this course building? And I think some of the, perhaps we should start with some quotes from Julie Dirksen, who talks exactly
Ooh.
about this. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
it's efficiency in terms of the experience. We don't want we don't want to have this amazing course, and I see it a lot of the time, even with Moodle, or especially with Moodle. I don't know, where there is this amazing course, this great experience, but in
Yep.
order for you to get to there, you need to go to a website, click on a link, register, wait for an email. The email didn't make it. The email is in spam. Then you have to call an administrator. So many steps before you actually get into the meat. That's what I mean about being efficient. I don't
Uh,
I don't mean efficiency in terms of the conclusions of the course, because I have no idea what the conclusions are going to be. Or I don't. Maybe it's not our place to have those conclusions. But it kind of depends on the methodology that we choose and so on.
so where we go next? What do we do next?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess what you asked is a very good question, and it doesn't have to take us a long time to answer. What are we missing before we can start bringing everyone or other
Right,
people?
because I think we're still a long way from building, right? And I think we're even
We're
still
closer than
quite
we
a
were.
way. Say again.
We're closer than we were a week or 2 weeks ago.
Sure, I'm not. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, we're a long ways away from building. Like, I'd really like to like be able to enter into like the let's actually build out the actual experience or the content or whatever, in a way where it's like, okay, we know exactly what we want to put there. I think it's worthwhile for us to do some investigation. So maybe what we talk about next, or our next session, is about what are the different formats that we could do, or what are like just talk through what are the different types of assessments we could do, or what are the different ways that we could present material. What are the different ways that we could interact with students or learners? So like I just kind of put on the table like 6 more episodes, right? Of just being just kind of walking through those things, right? And
Yeah,
kind of the
definitely.
pros, kind of talking through the pros and cons of each of those. Like, which one do you want to start with? Like, we have a whole, we have a lot of material with our, at least the LMS Pulse blog, thought a lot about course formats. Like what kind of course formats could we have? And how's that changed by Moodle 4.0 or, different platforms going out there? But obviously
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're going to be using OpenLMS. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can give you an answer like right now. There are, I think, four like core formats, and Moodle 4.0 did not bring any new formats. So the standard format is just topics, which are not necessarily linear, but they are laid out in a sequence. There's like weekly, which are linear in time, and it's usually the most suitable for like a semester's worth of content. There are like single topic courses, which is kind of, I mean, you can see that as a course, but that single topic is usually when you want to just take advantage of one activity that Moodle offers. Usually, I would say it's the forum. So you just have like a forum, and it has the same icon as a course, but when you click, it's just the forum where people can ask and answer questions. And I think I mentioned three. I'm skipping one. So those are the core formats, but there are a couple of plugin formats for other things. Yeah, and then actually there's a lot. I wouldn't presume to know them all, but there's been some interesting developments, and we've covered some of those. I think there was like a Moodle Mood Australia probably, where there was like a Dev Jam where they build this. I, I I don't know if it was called like Everest or climbing or something like that.
okay,
But it borrowed like the analogy of the of climbing a
no.
mountain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the milestones and the maybe it was called base camp. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and at that time I was thinking it's really interesting that that it's that you are able to draw from this kind of non-virtual experiences. And at the time, I remember I was thinking like, what would be the course format equivalent to hanging out on a beach, or to going or to being on a Buddhist temple, or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because in a way these are all very valuable educational experiences. So how can we draw them inside? Um, and there's a lot of possibility, I would say. But we probably should settle on a couple of things. But I don't know. I guess when things fits into each other because each format has its own additional requirements.
Of course. Of course. Well, I think that's as good a place to start as any, right? Formats, because I mean, I'd love, especially here since we have a visual format here, I'd love to be able to like look at the different formats, like have examples of each one of them.
Mhm.
And then yeah, just sort of like what's the user experience in each of those formats. So maybe we do that next time.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good.
And then after
And
that, we could do like what kind of assessments are possible, what kind of assignments are possible.
all right, yes, and I, I wanna add like the community building aspect here, or like how is the format and the way we structure and laid out this course is going to foster a sense of community among its participants and us, of course. And that's usually through, I don't know, very active experiential stuff, I think. Or, or can you build a community through essay writing, essay assignments?
I mean, yeah, it really depends on what you want out of a community, I guess. And again, I think it's ultimately a choice in the education process of, is this a moment of learning? Is this a moment of, I'm thinking like the hard sciences, like physics, chemistry, whatever, mathematics. Like, do you really need a community in those? Or, right?
Excuse me.
Whereas well as like, as opposed to something like what we're talking about here, where there's a community opportunity and people talking about the clubs that they follow and people saying, why this is important to that, like the debates of which one of these 5 World Cups was the best. Who are the top players and why, like that. I mean, those are all like those aspects of, we all come together under this common banner that we're interested in, right?
Yeah. Well,
I could say the same thing about physics and math and chemistry too, I mean, but it's just again, it's one of those, another one of those choices that you have to make as the subject matter expert or the instructor about what they're going to do. So
yeah, I just want to say that communities is fundamental for it and has been fundamental for the development of sciences. I was this morning. I was watching these videos. There is this YouTube channel about the chemical elements, and you see. Well, first of all, the doctor who begins like introducing a topic, he doesn't really talk about like the physical properties of an element and so on, but he just talks like things in history and what led to one discovery and another, and what made people, like with the periodic table, people realize that there's a lot of elements that we are yet to discover because there are like gaps in the table. So that gave the chemists of the world like an agenda for years to come, which it hasn't been fulfilled, although it's been greatly advanced in the past century. And what you see is that there is always this mix of people in every part of the world are creating, are like doing some research, and they are reading each other. And when one guy from this place, from this lab, which has this special equipment, which shoots protons to turn elements into another, and he sees that this other guy has some ideas, he invites him to join him. So of course, he would go. And like the host of these videos, he's in the UK. He's actually very famous there. He has a train named after him. And he went to Russia because Russia has very specific labs. There are labs in Russia that are the only ones, or one of the few places where they can create a very specific elements. And of course, with the war and everything, I wonder like how much all this dynamic of community and collaboration is compromised, so there's definitely a community, maybe not for the learning itself, but for the research. But I don't know. They shouldn't be seen as differently, I think, or I don't know.
You make a strong argument. I agree wholeheartedly. I guess I was just thinking about the difference between, passing on the quadratic equation and making sure that a student knows how to use that, and, Socratic inquisition into, which one of these World Cup, wins over the last 5 years was the best one, or which one had the most luck, or which one,
Yeah, but Socratic implies people discussing, debating.
Right, but that's I was talking about our topic, not not like sort of like, hey, here's the quadratic formula, and here's how you use it. Here's how you plug it into a plug numbers into it to find blah blah blah. So,
but I think the same applies, and I think this actually, I don't know. I don't want to get heady, as you say. But I think there's a lot of trouble in the way we teach things like quadratic, like the standard math. It is established. Nobody's going to rebuke that, but it's like how each student finds it, finds something for themselves in the math, rather than seeing math as like something that needs to be followed to whatever was expected in some textbook. We kind of, I don't want to pontificate there, but just like math, math is being deprived from its
You just want to be a revolutionary
experience.
at all stages. You're just angry at the world, Chris. That's just the way it is.
I'm angry at the word. Wow.
No. It's it's a hot topic. It's a topic of debate for me almost every day, simply because I've got 3 young children, and so semi-young children. So there's always that debate between how much freedom do you give them, how much do you let them discover what they want, and then how much do you say you crack the whip and say, no, this is what you're going to do. It's a fine balance. It's an interesting balance, and one that is there is no correct answer, right?
No, there isn't. And keep thinking of what you just told me.
That you're
but-
angry at the world.
I mean, let's say that it's true. Let's say you're right.
You're not angry at the world. You want to challenge the status quo. You're a good revolutionary.
But I don't want to challenge it in a theoretical way, if that makes sense. I want, like with this course, I want this course to be actionable for us and for whoever joins us.
Mm-hmm.
It should take whoever wants to be part of this into a new place.
Agreed, 100%.
I'm not saying dismantle the world order. No, just a new place.
This is one of the reasons why we work well together, my friend. I'm feeling super practical right now. Like, so what? Say, okay, so that's great. We can take them to a new place, but we have to have a vehicle that gets them there somehow. So what's the vehicle?
Yeah. So let's just build a vehicle instead, and then everyone can decide how they want to use it.
There you go. All right. So next time, actually, it'll be 2 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah.
Because next week at this time right now, we'll be on a break, I think, actually. Yeah, we'll be an hour and a half away from part 2 of the instructor session. But next week, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on May 4th, we have the instructor session of the eLearn Success Series all teed up here. And you can see it on your screen here right now. Phil Miller, Nick Furman. Who's next? Who's after Nick?
Michael Vaughn.
Michael Vaughn from one of our colleagues here at Open LMS. He's going to be talking about accessibility as a design challenge. Jess Corinne is going to be talking about working memory, so executive functioning and working memory. After her, Ari Sowers. I assume that's right. That's how you say her name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her family name correctly.
Sowers.
And she's going to be talking about proctoring, or we'll be talking about giving assessments through a proctoring lens. So like, how do you make sure that assessments get done correctly? Then we have a break, right? Isn't there? Yeah. So we have a midday exhibitor and networking break.
Yeah. Big break slash gap between block 1.
Exactly. So then, so we wanted to give people different opportunities to look at things in different times. Then I'll welcome people to this part 2. After that, is it Thomas Corner? Is he first? No, Dr. Vanessa Hurin. And she's going to be talking about why you use digital learning and when you don't want to use it, that kind of thing. So I'm very interested to hear what her talk's going to be about.
It's funny that this is a recurring theme on the instructor session that we're having next week. We are, of course, an e-learning company and e-learning advocates, but in a way, we want to be the most aware of when not to use it, where not to rely on technology too much, especially
Mhm.
when it comes to connecting with students. You know.
Exactly. And that'll be interesting because that flows directly into what Thomas Corner is going to be talking about, which is the future of education, right? What will the universe look like in 2040? I believe it is,
Oh, really?
for
Yeah.
instructors. So that should be quite interesting. There's a little break in the middle there. David Porter, Dr. David Porter, he's going to be talking about micro-credentialing and what that means and how you can leverage micro-credentialing to enhance or augment or extend your course. Who's after David? And then Kevin Kelly, who's really, he's our keynote.
Keynotes. Yeah.
And he's going to be talking about equity, essentially, right, in the learning process or as learning professionals. And
Yeah.
I'm very interested. I've seen his slides already, and I've kind of walked through his topics. So I think he's going to be a very dynamic speaker. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. He's like super famous and so on, but he's like really down to earth.
Yeah, he's super easy guy. I'll close out part 2, and then you're going to take over for part 3 because todo en español.
Spanish. So we have Claudia, which I think she's pretty known in some international circles. She has a doctorate in, I always forget, I mixed up Northwestern and Northeastern University. They're both in Chicago. So I won't give a try now. But she's, and it's not just me, because she considers herself educational change activist, you know. And her session is going, well, to be about good practices in instruction and use of free time. But she is currently like launching a campaign, this one, Liberen a los Niños,
Okay.
like free the children, or so she's, I mean,
You revolutionaries. It's crazy.
yeah.
I love it. She's fantastic. She spoke at the Eastern Success Summit in 2021. She's quite nice.
I think she was the only one who did like English and Spanish. Yeah. Then we have Sol. Sol is a very close friend of OpenLMS. She's the director of Pentec, which is a partner in Spain. And she's going to talk about how, even though, I mean, you may not think that you can thrive in the digital space, or that what you have to do is just like translate your whatever you do face to face into the online. But she actually has this message of understanding, but also like a reality check of, no, you do need some structures, and you can actually adapt what you know. You don't have to pretend that this is like a completely new environment, but you can also just try like a new mindset. So the talk is called Tools, Structures, and Mindsets for Online Learning, Online Teaching. And then we have a break. And this is kind of a back-to-back session between Paco Tavares and Edrey Robles, which they're going to like summarize a couple of trends from the past year or two, ideas on how to do like really engaging and dynamic online learning sessions. Paco does sort of the corporate partners or associate training. Edrey does sort of the academia, students, and the ideas that we have. I believe Paco will stay with us a bit, so we can have like a bit of a parallel debate at the end.
Cool. Y los dos son de México, ¿sí?
That's right. Yeah, Paco is in Cancun, actually. It's fun. And Edrey is in Querétaro? I'm not sure.
Querétaro. I don't know. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty international.
Yeah, we've got people from all over. We've talked about people like Thomas is in Switzerland, Vanessa's in Australia, David Kelly's in California, Edrey and Paco are in Mexico, Claudia's in Ecuador. Who else we have? Jess Corinne. I believe she's in Washington, if I'm not mistaken. Who else do we have in there?
Well, I think we have someone from Canada.
Go back up to the top. Oh, we have Phil's in Indiana. Nick Furman's in Georgia, the state, not the country. And incidentally, I love mentioning this though. His TED talk at TED.com has more than 1 million views, which is really, it's something else. It's pretty cool. They call him Ranger Nick. So I'm very interested. He promised that he's going to bring animals onto the talk. So I'm very excited to see what that's going to be about.
I didn't notice the little turtle.
Yeah, no, he's pretty sweet. If you read his bio, he's got some good stuff. Go down there real quick. I'm trying to think who else. Michael, I'm not sure where Michael's based. Jess over in Washington. Who's the next one down?
Ari?
Don't know where Ari is. Let's find out if she's. So many of the people in the Respondes team that we talked to are in Honduras, so I'm not sure. I don't think she's in Latin America though.
Yeah, me neither.
Anywho, so what are we going to do next time? The week after the summit, are we going to look at 4 course formats? Or are we going to look at?
Yeah, a couple.
Let's say that's what we're going to do. Let's walk people through course formats who've never seen it. Like let's just pull them up and have some visuals of like what different ones look like and the pros and cons of each.
Sounds good.
All right, man.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Chris.
You too. Take care.